Without Lowry, Siakam, and OG, it became the Paul Watson show tonight for the Toronto Raptors as they take down the Orlando Magic. 113-102 is your final. Raptors record now 23-34 on the season. Hello, everyone, and welcome inside Raptors Night Cap. Randy Urban alongside Sherman Hamilton, Paul Jones, and Jack Armstrong. Guys, impressive win considering who they didn't have. Sherman, I'll start with you. Watson stepped in and stepped up in a big way today.
Yeah, what an impressive third quarter. Huh? I mean, it was just fun to watch him get those looks, and he's on balance. He's taking good shots. And we talked about this on the radio side. This team is very good at finding the player that has the hot hand. They continue to feed that person and run plays to get him looks. We saw it with Utah in the first half. We see it with Paul Watson in the third quarter. And I just like his flow, his feel to the game. He's got a good gait to the way he plays. And, you know, this is a guy who puts the ball on the floor. He finishes from the three-point line. And coming out of COVID protocol, we've seen it be a crapshoot for some players in terms of what you're going to get from them. I thought he played with great pace, great timing, great energy, and he looked like he was back, which was a great thing to see. But I was just happy for him. And the way the bench reacted to what he was doing was phenomenal to see.
Randall, we always said that you hated to see Norm go. Mm-hmm. Maybe it was a money thing, obviously a business decision, part of it. But the way Gary Trent Jr. and now Paul Watson, and those were two guys, let's face it, you'd always thought about that. Like, who's next coming down the pipe? The same way when they developed all those guys in 905. You had Fred, you had DeLon, you had Jakob, you had all these guys that were coming up, the young guys coming down the pipe. Norm's gone now, but you got Gary Trent Jr., you got Paul Watson, you got DeAndre Bembry, and maybe they make more sense right now economically. And, we talked about this, Sherman and I. Jack, we talked about it too, and I've had both of you guys on the radio, that Raptor fans got spoiled, Randy. Mm-hmm. Winning and developing don't go hand in hand. But over the last 7-8 years, the Raptors have won and guys have developed. Normally, development in the NBA is code for you're getting your head beat in and you're learning what to do and what not to do, and you're taking your losses. That hasn't happened. And we're finally at a point now where it is kind of happening with Toronto. We're seeing Malachi and, tonight, Paul Watson, these guys developing, and it's not always winning. Tonight, it's a win. Another night, it's a loss, but that's part of the developmental process. And the Raptor fans have been fortunate, but Paul Watson was terrific tonight in a win.
Mm-hmm. Just two quick things, Randy. Yeah. Number one, I think this is probably the toughest year in my experience in the NBA of being able, and I'm not with the coaches and Sherman, Jonesy, none of us are, but I think from a coaching perspective, this is probably the most difficult developmental year to truly get your hands on guys and make an impact and help them grow their game. Mm-hmm. I think this coaching staff, Dwayne Casey's staff, and now Nick Nurse's staff has proven that they are at the top of the list in the NBA when they get their hands on their guys on a daily basis and they create habits. They do a good job developing players from good to very good, So to me, I think that there's some intriguing pieces here that if they actually have an opportunity to have time with them, can grow. And I'll throw another guy into the mix. In my opinion, Yuta Watanabe, no question in my mind, is an NBA player. I mean, he's one of the top 450 guys in the world, in my opinion. When you look at 30 teams with 15 roster spots, there is a place for him in this league. And we all remember how much fun we had, and Jonesy mentioned a lot of names, how much fun the bench mob was a number of years ago. I think for the Raptors, as much as we are having an opportunity to watch the Lowrys and the Van Vliets and the Siakams and the Ananobis, it's also about looking forward and trying to come back with some sort of bench mob again that you can develop and have a solid roster 1 through 10.
Yeah, it's funny you said that because I was thinking that exact same thing. I was like, okay, these guys could be the core group of the guys coming off the bench next season and making a huge difference in the game. And Sherm, when I look at Paul Watson's game, this really doesn't surprise me because I know the work that he put in the offseason. He did a lot of stuff with Pascal Siakam. It felt like he was due for one of these games. I just didn't expect it, his first NBA start, coming out of COVID protocols.
Yeah, no question he put the work in. And, the interesting thing about him is you like the calm demeanor, that low kind of maintenance approach that he has and feel to his game.
Mm-hmm.
I really gravitate towards those players because they're coachable. They're guys who aren't going to be animated and show people up, but they're going to go about their work consistently the right way. And he did a great job in this game of just kind of getting into that flow. He got a couple buckets early in that third quarter, and they were like, keep on shooting it, keep on taking those shots and taking those looks. But when people put the work in the dark, and they get a chance in the light to perform, and Nick Nurse is very good at this. If you do the right things when you get your opportunity,
mm-hmm.
he gives you more. He gives you more opportunities, and that's how he keeps players engaged. So I think this organization has found another one in a Paul Watson Jr., not because of this game, but because of his overall approach to the game, which allows him to have the opportunity to be a player in this league.
And Jonesy, let's go back to Yuta Watanabe for a second, because he also had a career high tonight, 21 points, and he did it efficiently as well. It really started out strong. And when I look at him, every game, it appears that he's just raising the ceiling of what I think this guy can be every single game. That's awesome.
Randall, I've always said this. If you give me a kid who's a defensive player,
mm-hmm.
I'll give you a complete player before that guy that scores 20 every night. Because that guy who scores 20 every night is, we talked about it on the radio. Sherman said, the floor is tilted. He not necessarily running back uphill the other way. I'll wait for the ball to come back down here. Or he'll get back there, but he won't do it. Utah's one of those kids that I know what's going to get me on the floor. It's going to be my defense, helping, playing good D, containing guys, rebounding. And we've seen over the last 3 or 4 games, we've seen him taking a more aggressive offensive approach,
mm-hmm. catching
and shooting, driving the ball, shot prep, shot ready when the ball swung to him. And he hasn't done anything different on the defensive end. It's almost as if he said, okay, I got that part. I'm pretty consistent with that part. Let's put the next piece of the puzzle in. Let me start looking for my offense. And you're right. He's not being irresponsible with it either. He's taking good shots. He's still moving the ball. He's still being a team player. So I continue to look for that. Now you're not necessarily thinking, well, we're playing 4-on-5. This guy's helping us at one end, but
mm-hmm.
they don't respect him at the other end. He's saying, oh, no, you're going to see me because I'm going to make shots. And now that's going to open it up in turn for other people just being that kind of a threat.
Yeah.
And he's an ultra positive teammate. He's one of those guys who you want to play with because he's always upbeat. He's always a guy who's going to do the right things. He's not going to complain, and he's just going to play as hard as he can. And I've talked about this before. The last few games, I've loved the fact that he's come out looking for his offense. He's hunting shots. He's being aggressive. He's moving towards the ball with intents of doing something offensively with it. When a guy works that hard on the defensive end, I have no problem with him exploring options on the offensive end. He's just one of those teammates that everyone likes to have because he plays so hard and he plays for the guy beside him.
Yeah, that's a great point, Sherman. I'm a big body language guy, and I find too many players in the NBA just don't exhibit what I consider the right signs. And he is on himself in a positive way. He's like, oh, I should have made that play or this and that. And I love seeing that. And I love that move, going to the right in the lane, absorbing the contact, and then finishing with the left. That play early in the game was just that to me is a complete basketball player. But Jack, before we end the show, I want to talk about Gillespie because his 10-day contract ends on Sunday. He's shown me a lot. What do the Raptors do with him?
I don't know what they do with him. Obviously, I don't know what the parameters are and all that stuff, but I will say this. He hasn't hurt his chances one bit, getting 10 points and 7 rebounds. And he and Birch tonight had 17 points and 14 rebounds. And I'll tell you what, I think I said this the other night. If you had those two guys on your team from the start of the season, you'd have a better record because they bring more to the table in the modern NBA than what you had at that position. And to me, I really like what you're getting from those guys. And Gillespie, I love him. He is an ideal second unit guy, and Ken Birch is an ideal second unit guy. And I'm excited for both of those guys.
Yeah, I heard him, Jonesy, talk before the game, and he said, I kind of have a knack for the ball. And it was really neat to see a guy kind of take ownership of that role of getting after it on the glass. You need guys like that.
Rebounding is a direct measure of effort. And you see a guy going after it like that. And look, he's not going to out athlete you, but he just seems to use his body, get in position. He plays within himself at his own speed, finishes, is present on the defensive end. As Jack said, I don't think he's hurt his chances. And if they were to give him another 10-day to say, okay, well, let's give him 10 more days and see if we have something that could potentially develop, I wouldn't have a problem with that in any way.
Sure.
I agree. I think one thing I like about him is, and we saw this in what game was it, where he had a block shot.
And then he got dunked on.
And then he got dunked on.
Yeah.
I mean, the multiple effort on that play alone and the relentless desire to protect the rim is something the Raptors haven't seen all season. So when I see it in a play like that and it finishes with him getting dunked on, I say that's a guy who's going to be in it for every reason that's right. And I just like his toughness, his willingness to be there. And I agree. I could see the Raptors saying, let's give him another look, because he's definitely earned that opportunity. And I hope they do, but we don't know the parameters of everything that's going on behind the scenes. But I really like what the young man has done.
Okay, guys, that is great stuff as always. I have to stop you there. Memphis beat Chicago tonight, so the Raptors gained another game there in that play-in situation. So next up for the Raptors, Sunday night against the Oklahoma City Thunder, 7 p.m. Eastern. We'll see you then. Appreciate you doing this, guys.
Thanks for watching. You can click to watch our last episode or to subscribe to the Toronto Raptors YouTube channel so you don't miss an episode.